Hey everyone, this is Mike, and yesterday we got some extra information about patch 5.3. Now, all of the information in this came from different interviews with Yoshi P, and somebody summarized everything on Reddit. If you want to go read through the Reddit thread itself, give them some upvotes, I will leave the link in the description down below so you can go check it out yourself, as I'm not going to be talking about literally everything that is in here. I'm just going to be talking about the important points that were mentioned. Now, of course, do realize that this is all translated from a Japanese post, so there could be some translation errors here or there. With that being said, however, let's head right into it. Main scenario stuff. Patch 5.3 is going to be the conclusion arc of the Shadowbringers story, so going forward into patch 5.4, it is all going to be built up towards the next expansion. The volume of cutscenes and voices for this patch is so far the largest for a single patch released, and there are going to be quite an amount of conversations that may contain hints on later developments that might not be immediately obvious depending on the timing. So basically, people that are interested in story should have a very good time in this patch. This patch will also resolve about 99% of the story from Shadowbringers, and while it seemed unlikely to have any leftover elements that will be brought over to 5.4, the possibility is still there. There will also be kind of a conclusion portion to the Heidel and Zodiac arc, so that should be pretty cool to see, as well as that has been going on for quite some time. We'll also get to learn the direction Garlemald is heading into in patch 5.3 as well. Going into Yorha Dark Apocalypse, there will be more emphasis on near elements this time around for the continuation, and the equipments for this tier are hinted at by Yoshi P to be the ones that we can see in the promotional image, the shadowy figures which have the 2P faces. I'll have a little picture on screen so you can see it right there. This time around, there will be no equipment rewards where everyone will need to roll on, so basically the 2B dress reward cover that you would get at the end of the current 24-man is not going to be there anymore, which I think is pretty good because you had to roll against 24 other people to just have a chance at getting it, so they should be pretty good. The equipment design for the third entry of the Yorha Dark Apocalypse raid is already done and is entering production right now, and they basically aim to create equipment that have more variation and pattern based on Nier's lore, so pretty curious to see what they are going to be looking like. Patch 5.3 trial is still going to be a secret until the patch is released. The rewards will be weapons. This will most likely be our next MSQ trial, kind of like how we had with Tsukiyomi back in Stormblood, or how we had Varus from the previous patch as well. So it's just going to be a secret until the patch comes out, but I'm still quite curious to see what this one is going to be. Unreal Trials and the Faux Hollows. I made a quick little video on Unreal Trials itself, kind of give my opinions on it, but we got a little bit of extra information over these in here as well. Mechanics remain the same as when they were first released. The damage scaling and the HP of the boss are going to be adjusted to fit the level 80 standards. They aim to make the bosses feel the exact same as when you first fought them back then. Titan was supposed to be also included in this patch, but they thought if they released it too early, it would end up traumatizing the players like Titan did back then in A Realm Reborn. The rewards for clearing these Unreal Trials will be obtaining the rights to play the Faux Hollow minigame, and the minigame will have a mount and a minion as rewards, as well as some other stuff, I would imagine. Now, because they think that you'll eventually get bored of just fighting the same boss over and over again every single week, they are going to be swapping out the bosses every single patch. I think this is a positive as well as a negative, because of course it might create some fear of missing out on the player base as well. Chronicles of a New Era, The Sorrow of Werlit. This is our Ruby Weapon story continuation. Now, unfortunately enough, there is not going to be an 8-man trial for this patch, although there will be specialized battle content for this, and a big one at that, so please look forward to it, TM. It's described as content that will be containing all of our dreams of a man of the era. So quite curious to see what this is going to mean, because we did get some screenshots of what is supposed to be the Sapphire weapon on the special website, which again I'll have some pictures on the screen for. So I'm quite curious to see where this is going to end up going. Is this just going to be a single player instance battle, like a solo instance that you have to do? Or is this maybe going to be something later down the line into a trial, kind of like we have Ruby Weapon right now? Time will tell. Isguardian Restoration, scheduled to be released in patch 5.31, which is 3 to 4 weeks after patch 5.3. Rank and period specifics will be the same as before, lasting around 10 days, and this will reward you titles that are going to be different from the previous titles that you could get for the Isguardian Restoration. So basically, some extra content to enjoy right there. Save the Queen and the Southern Baja front lines. We're getting a bunch of information of what is going to be happening here. First of all, it's going to be released 1.5 months after patch 5.3, which is going to be patch 5.35, which will also coincide with the relic weapons for our crafters, the Skysteel tools, which I'll talk about in just a second as well. Now, the scale of the content is going to be larger than when Eureka was first created, so should be pretty cool. And they again have a separate leveling system called the resistance rank. You can level them up easily through solo play. There is nothing that forces you to have a party for it. This should be quite good because Eureka, if you were a solo player, you were basically going to have a very bad time. You were almost forced to play with parties, whether it was to just mob grind or whether it was to try and spawn those notorious monsters. So being able to do it solo should be pretty cool. Now, there will also be actions that are specific only to the Southern Baja frontline, which are called the Lost Actions. This basically makes me think of the Logos actions from Eureka, which was quite a good system and was very positively received by a lot of the community, so should be pretty good. In the Southern Baja frontline, we get to join skirmishes and critical engagement. Now, each skirmish ends with a little battle report where we can see how we performed and we get rank points. Both of the content will take place within this Southern Baja frontline and triggers quite often. Now, the skirmishes are basically fates where everybody can just join in and earn points. That way, the rate of them spawning is also quite high, but the critical engagement is a new event type battle that is developed specifically for the Southern Baja frontline. There are going to be conditions to triggering them, and it's basically going to be about the Garlean Empire launching an assault at you and your allies. You're gonna have to queue for this piece of content, and you can do so from anywhere within the area, and players will be selected at random by the system if the minimum capacity to join the content is reached. There will, however, be items that you can obtain so that you can basically get priority in this queue system, so that basically people that haven't gotten it can use these items to still get into the content, so that RNG basically doesn't screw you over. Once all the conditions are met, the group will be brought into a new instance and then conduct the battle from there. Objectives can range from destroying a large enemy type weapon or to defeat a large scale army. Think of it like a boss battle content that requires 24 for up to 48 players to gather and defeat. There will also be some bonus content in here where if you score excellent results in this critical engagement, you get to initiate on a one-on-one battle with what would be the enemy general. Now, do note that only one person will get to participate, and Yoshi P described it as a one-man savage, or maybe it's more of a one-man ultimate. Now, he also went to say that people who are extremely battle-oriented will have an easy time with this, so I definitely don't expect this to be anything close to one-man savage content, but we'll have to wait and see how difficult this will be once it does actually come out. Now, since it is a one-on-one battle, the other players can only cheer from the sidelines, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to go down with the community, but we'll have to wait and see. There's also going to be a Baldesian Arsenal equivalent large-scale content that will be implemented in patch 5.4. The dev team aims to create a new system that makes it a lot more accessible after taking in opinions on from players on the Baldesian Arsenal. There is going to be 2 difficulties that are planned. The content doesn't require as much pre-preparation as well, and it's basically going to be large-scale content where everyone gets to participate. One of the downsides of Baldesian Arsenal was that it required a lot of preparation for you to get into it. You needed the logos actions, you needed to be max level, all of that kind of stuff. And it might have been a little bit too much for some players to just have a casual experience with it. And also there were only a set amount of spots of players that could go into the Baldesian Arsenal itself as well. So it's kind of hard to get into because of all the preparation, as well as trying to guarantee that you had a spot to go in. This is basically going to make it so that you don't need as much preparation to go into it, and everybody gets to participate as well. Who knows, maybe the second difficulty will be more like the old Baldesian Arsenal that we know and love from the previous Eureka. Now, to upgrade your resistance weapons, there will be a quest prepared for it, and you can upgrade your weapons purely by going through this quest from the beginning as well. So, kind of like how we obtained our first step of the relic when that came out in the previous patch, there is just going to be a quest line, and when we follow it, we will get our relic weapon that way. Now, there will also be a second method to upgrading your weapon, which will basically be about obtaining necessary items from doing these skirmishes and these critical engagements. So, most likely, First weapon is going to be gained from doing the quest line, and then the second, third, or however many relics you want to do following that will be upgraded through doing the content itself, basically. The way it works, necessary items to upgrade your weapon and the conditions will be presented to you. You can also obtain these items from outside the Southern Boja areas as well. However, whenever the interviewer asked them from how they were going to be obtained, Yoshida answers with, "We can't tell you anything for now, but it will probably be something similar to the Atma farming that we had back in the day." So that's kind of all that we know about the Southern Boja area for now. Seems like there will be a lot of things that you can kind of choose what you want to do yourself. Do you just want to do the quest and be done with it? Do you want to do the content itself, like the skirmishes, critical content, in order to upgrade more weapons, or do you just want to do some stuff outside of the Southern Boja areas to upgrade your weapons that way? It seems like there is basically a lot of player choice involved, which I am all for. Crafting and gathering related content. There will be 8 new umbrellas obtainable through the Ishgardian restoration as well as the Southern Boja front lines, and some of them are going to be themed with a Japanese theme as well, so should be quite cool if you like your umbrellas. Skysteel tools will be upgraded in patch 5.35, so the same as when the Southern Boja area comes out, and there will also be new crafter and gatherer equipment implemented in patch 5.3. This will be our final gathering set, I believe, if we are not counting in the Skysteel tools, of course, but they are going to be our best in slot for now until the Skysteel tools reach their final point at the end of the expansion, or at least it should be if the previous expansions are anything to go off when the relic weapons are concerned. There will also be a new category of items called fashion items, and these new items will basically be added like how umbrellas are implemented at the moment. Though these are currently at the planning stages, you get to, for example, hug a teddy bear while walking. This should be pretty good for people that are into role-playing, or which people that really like to use G-pose to make screenshots, that kind of stuff. Should be pretty cool. There will also be a new beast tribe introduced, the dwarves, which is going to be done in Lakeland. I was kind of expecting this to happen in Colusia, as that is the place where the dwarves reside. This should be our crafting beast tribe as well, seeing how we have a battle one, a gathering one. This should be our crafting one, and if the previous expansions are anything to go by, then we will also need to do this one to obtain items to make our 5.3 crafting / gathering gear as well. So hopefully we can basically get all of that done. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the content that we can expect. Now there is some other information that he started to talk about as well, about the current situation that is going on around the world, you know what, and it's basically all about the work from home environment and that kind of stuff. But there is some important information in here as well that might be good to know for you guys right now as well. So I'm going to be talking about that real quick. First of all, he's talking about the next expansion. Now, this is going to have a slight delay on it, but because they managed to finally get a hold of their schedule, the delay will be about a few months at best and will not take up to 6 months or more. So hopefully maybe 2-3 months of a delay, kind of like how we had right now with patch 5.3 being delayed. Hopefully it won't take too much longer for the expansion to come out as well. So instead of seeing it around summer, we can probably expect it around the fall. Now, concerning Fanfest, they are saying that the Japanese and the EU Fanfest might not proceed as normal, because of course we still don't know exactly what is going to happen with them. There will, however, be updates during mid-July if the situation was to be developing to a point where we need to be updated, and we'll also be informed of it. Online-only Fanfests are also still under consideration, so hopefully later this month we'll basically get our information on what is going to be happening with the EU and the Japanese Fanfest. Of course, talked about it in a previous video, the NA Fanfest has been cancelled and is going to be moved to sometime next year. We of course don't know whether or not it's going to have a physical Fanfest or if it's going to be an online-only Fanfest, like they are considering with Japan and EU as well. The next Ultimate is already under production as well, and there is currently another huge thing under development too. So the devs are taking a whole stance of let's get them done quickly so we can rest in ease, so that it basically won't affect their future plans. Now this kind of makes it sound like they just want to rush the content out, but I'm also not really expecting this to be a thing from Square Enix themselves, like that they would just rush the content and bring either like underwhelming content out or something that's riddled with bugs, something like that. I really don't expect that to happen. It might sound like they are rushing it from the way that it is written in this article, but I definitely do not expect them to do anything like this because they've never done so in the past. and I don't think Square Enix or Yoshi P wants to bring out content that is basically subpar, which is one of the reasons why they are also not accelerating the patch schedule, because they do want to make it so that Final Fantasy XIV keeps getting quality content rather than rushed out content. So even though it might sound like they're rushing it, I definitely don't think it is going to be the case. But of course, only time will tell. But that is basically all of the most important information that was in this summary of all of the different interviews with Yoshi P. Of course, if you want to go read it yourself, if you want to get some extra information about how all the work from home stuff is happening with the current situation that is going on, I'll just leave a link to the article or to the Reddit thread in the description down below, so you can go check it out yourself, give them some upvotes, all of the good stuff. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.